Hi, welcome to Arthur's online autism presentation. I am Arthur Riley and I'm on the autism spectrum. Today I'm starting a series of 4 presentations sharing many of my autism related obsessions I've had throughout my life. Today is part 1, sharing obsessions from my early childhood. First, I will start with word obsessions. Now, since I was so young, I do not remember any of this, with one exception. So, this is information my mom shared with me when I was old enough to understand. She remembered me using the word broken. I was approximately 4 or 5. I said it daily, weekly, monthly, to the point she asked the private school owner where the word broken came from. She said one day her son showed me around their house, which happened to be located next door to their private school. I noticed a broken brick on the fireplace, and that's where it all started. The only thing I remembered from that obsession, I was about 5 or 6 at the time. One of my classmates' dad came to pick him up, and I was wearing a jacket with a zipper on it, unzipped. I walk up to my classmate's dad and pointed to the teeth on the zipper on my jacket and said, "Broken." He was very pleasant. He goes, "What's broken?" That's all I remember from that interaction. I recently looked back and asked myself, who would have ever dreamt that an innocent object such as a broken brick would have me saying the word broken to the point where I sounded like a broken record. Ha ha. 2 other words that stick out my mom's mind back then were chocolate and root beer. If I remember right, she said that I had words of the day or words of the week. I'm not sure since it was so many years ago. So, anyway, Mom remembered I could be not paying attention, my mind wondering who knew where. However, when she mentioned the word chocolate or root beer, she had my attention just like that. Amazing what a word or two can do to bring someone's attention, isn't it? So I will go into doors. And I remember a lot of my obsession with doors during my childhood. Once again, since I was so young, Mom remembers even more so. She related an episode which happened, I was probably 4 or 5. She worked at a local TV station. And one day I was with her, probably after work. She was with her coworkers. And I had no sense of danger back then. She'll never forget. All of a sudden, she looked and I was gone. And nobody knew where I went. And I could picture Mom and everybody go, "Where's Arthur? Oh my goodness." And what was scary, even yet, was we were on a busy street or next to one. So I bet they were thinking the worst or fearing the worst, even. So eventually, one of the newscasters found me at a service station just down the block from the TV station. I was opening and closing a bathroom door, just like this, opening and closing. And I'm sure everyone was so relieved I was safe and sound. She also remembers me opening and closing doors when we went over to someone's house or down the hall. In a positive note, it kept me busy, allowed my mom, my dad was with them, to visit during this whole episode. I do remember my obsession for doors. I was probably 6 or 7. We'd go out in public anywhere, just supermarkets, stores, restaurants. I remember vividly going to the back of a supermarket, studying doors. or even at a restaurant, they're going to the restroom or on our way to be seated. I'd go up to the door, look at it, then go back to our table or where we were going. And one door obsession I really love to relate. About 6 or 7, my parents and I visited a couple of friends in San Francisco. We normally ate at the house, but one night decided to go out for dinner. I thought, yippee! Oh boy, we're going out. I was so excited. I don't remember what I ended up eating that night. However, I do remember the restaurant or the entrance of it was at an angle in a set of 2 swinging doors. And I still pictured myself observing those doors briefly before we all walked inside. The funny thing of the whole thing was, for a long time, I didn't even think about that night until about 30 years later. Mom and I took a day trip to San Francisco. We were walking into town heading toward Fisherman's Wharf. I noticed a restaurant that had that angle I remembered and those swinging doors. I took one look and I thought, oh my goodness, that was the same restaurant we ate at. I knew just by looking at those doors because they looked exactly the same as they did many years before. I said to Mom, look, I know that all of us ate here. You, Dad, and I, with our friends, ate there many years ago just by looking at those 2 doors. I'm sure she was amazed. However, I believe in this instance, I amazed myself much more than I did Mom. So, despite the fact that my obsession for doors is long gone, even today, once in a while, I see certain swinging doors and get reminded of my past obsessions. Now I will go into the color black. And I remembered my love for the color black, an obsession, more or less. However, once again, my mom remembers it more so due to the fact that I was very young. She remembered when we went to a local amusement park with all the rides, everything I rode had to be black, whether it be the black horse on the merry-go-round, black teacup, black airplane on the airplane ride, a boat, and one I remember the most was a black car. It was a circle of 9 or 10 cars for children. And I still remember vividly, like it was yesterday, that I had to have that black car. No questions asked. And I'll never forget me having a screaming and crying fit if another child got the black car before I did. So Mom had to pull me away, make sure I was first in line for the next go around. And sure enough, when the time came, I still remember making that rapid beeline to that black car because once again, I had to have it. No questions asked. I would not have settled for any other color at that time. Another obsession for black, which I'd really like to relate, the color black that is, was watching a game of billiards a few times out in public or observing them. I remember churning inside when I watched a player knock in the 8 ball, which happened to be black. And I said to myself, how dare they knock that 8 ball in? That nice, beautiful black 8 ball that I loved looking at so much. This was long before I understood the game of billiards. And even today, yes, black is still my favorite color. However, I got over the obsession a long time ago, and I am so thankful for it because it really encouraged me to enjoy other beautiful colors. Now I will go into sporting events. I remembered I was like 8 or 9. I would be so intense in those hockey games. I'd scream and cry if the opposing team or the wrong team was winning or won. I'm going back years ago or back then. If I screamed and cried or acted up, mom would have took me out. However, she allowed me to scream and yell more at a sporting event because that was normal for fans. However, I had screams that were shrilling, piercing, to the point where mom remembers spectators close by saying, "Shut that kid up." I bet they covered their ears. However, most of them just quietly moved away. And I remember one night, mom had us move to the front row, which made it easier. When I did my yelling and screaming, is right to the outside of the rink where the game was taking place. Chances are fans behind us moved away. However, both mom and I agreed that the front row was the better option for both of us. But one positive aspect to my obsessions for the hockey games was I memorized the scores of all the games we went to. And not only that, I remember the scoring order of each game, goal by goal. And on top of that, at one time, I remember the name of each player of each goal which was scored. So, baseball games, I will never forget me yelling appropriate or inappropriate comments, such as, "You dirty pizzas! Don't strike 'em, ball 'em!" Were they against stadium rules? No. Did they draw negative tension and comments? Absolutely. I wasn't aware of it at the time until I was older, but mom sure was. Just like the hockey games, other spectators are yelling, "Shut that kid up!" And she noticed pointing and comments being made. Before I go any further, I want to mention most of the time we sat behind the first base side. However, when mom noticed the comments and pointing towards me, it angered her so much. She went ahead and sat on the third base side while I remained on the first base side because she knew I loved baseball. Once again, during my teenage years, I started to notice the comments and pointing, which I will mention in more detail in my next presentation. Oh, another thing, I remember I was so intensely involved in those games or so obsessed. Someone would offer me a hot dog or snow cone, soda, or anything from the concession stand. I go, "No, thank you. No, thank you." I was too involved in the game. Another thing, still remember picking up styrofoam cups and peanut shells and grinding them into little pieces, just like that, intensely watching the game. And I bet you anything, those actions drew negative attention as well. So I will go into my obsessions for calendars. Mom remembered I was probably 5 or 6, approximately. I took calendars from the old phone books that were forever calendars, studied them intensely. Oh, I was so obsessed with those calendars. And mom noticed that I had a gift for calendar dates. For example, If someone asked me what day of the week April 2nd, 1970 was on, I answered with no hesitation and I never missed. Mom and her friends, or anyone who was with us, they were just amazed. Next thing I remember, people are asking, okay, Arthur, what day of the week is my birthday going to be on this year? Same thing. Answered immediately and never missed. Or what day of the week was it the following year? No one could believe it. They were just amazed and just enamored. Not only that, someone would ask me what I had for lunch 2 weeks ago or even 3 weeks ago from the day we were visiting. And I remembered. I can't do that now. And I figured it was clever how mom used my skills as a tool to get me involved in conversations. I loved it when my mom enjoyed showing me off to friends because it really boosted my self esteem. However, when I got older, I was in middle school or high school, friends enjoyed showing me off, which I will bring up more in detail in a future presentation or the next one. Believe it or not, I still have those skills today. However, I rarely ever use them unless I believe it is necessary. So, in review, I mentioned my word obsessions: broken, chocolate and root beer, obsessions for the color black, and obsessions with sporting events and the issues accompanied by them, calendar dates, and memory skills. So, a couple of favors I'd like to ask. If you like what you heard today, please click like and the subscribe button. My next presentation will be part 2, sharing obsessions from my teenage years. So I will see you then. Have a great day.